Alright, so before we begin, what does an Israeli breakfast consist of? You got some fresh challah, a braided Jewish bread, some eggs, smoked salmon, olives, labneh, which is a fresh cheese made from strained yogurt, Zhug, which is a Yemenite hot sauce of sorts, and a salad of cucumbers, red onions, tomatoes, parsley, and lemon juice. We're going to start off by making challah. You're going to need 2 1/4 teaspoon of dry active yeast, 4 tablespoons of honey or sugar, I use honey, 3/4 teaspoon of sea salt or kosher salt, 3 tablespoons of butter or 45 grams if you're not in America, 3 large eggs, and about 3 cups or 435 grams of all-purpose flour. We're going to get half a cup of warm water. Make sure it's not too hot or it will kill the yeast. And add your yeast to the water. Give it a quick mix. And we're going to add 1 of our 3 tablespoons of honey, and that's going to be food for the yeast. Give it a final mix, and we're going to set that aside. After about 10-15 minutes, your yeast will look like this, and that means it's ready to go. Grab a large bowl and throw in your yeast and warm water mixture. And we're going to add the rest of our honey. We're going to give that a little mix, and we're going to start adding our eggs. And the third egg, we're going to split the egg yolk and the egg whites. I like to crack the egg into my hand and kind of use my fingers to separate the egg yolks and the egg whites. Save the egg whites because we will be using it later on. After we mix the eggs into our base, we're going to add our melted butter, which has been slightly cooled so it's not hot. We're going to begin making our dough by adding our flour 1 cup at a time. Make sure it's thoroughly mixed in before you add your next cup. And once it looks pretty shaggy, you're going to put it out, roll it out onto your surface, and we're going to start kneading it. It might look a little crazy at first, but don't worry. Once you start kneading it, it'll start to come together pretty quickly. And once it's smooth, you're going to want to put it into a greased bowl and let it rise for about 2 hours or until it doubles in size. Before you let it rest, make sure you tightly seal it with plastic wrap so that it doesn't dry out. After 2 hours, check on your dough and make sure it looks like this or doubled in size. Then you're going to want to cut your dough into 3 equal pieces. You can just eyeball it and get as close as you can. Punch out any of the remaining gas bubbles in your dough, and you're going to want to roll them into 3 little balls. Cover your dough for about 15 minutes and we're going to let that rest. Once your dough has fully rested, you're going to want to roll them out into 3 ropes. Grab your 3 pieces of dough and pinch the sides all together. Now, to braid your dough, all you have to do is take the left piece and fold it over the center piece without crossing the right piece. Then you do the same thing with the other side. Fold the piece on the right over the center piece without crossing the left rope. Repeat until you have your braids. Once you're done with your braids, just tuck everything underneath so that you can hide any pieces that might look a little ugly. We're gonna take our dough, put it onto our sheet pan, and we're gonna use the egg whites from before to give it a nice little egg wash. Make sure you brush all the corners because you want it to brown evenly. Then, at this point, we're gonna cover it in plastic wrap and we're gonna let it rise for 30 more minutes. After 30 minutes has passed, you're gonna brush it one more time with the egg wash to make sure it gets a really nice coating. And yes, we're gonna let it rest for 15 more minutes. After it's risen for about 15 minutes, it's gonna look nice and fluffy. Throw it in your oven at 350 degrees for about 40 minutes total. At about 15-minute mark, you're gonna wanna pull it out, flip it around, and throw it back in. This is to ensure that everything browns evenly. After 40 minutes, your bread should come out looking like this. Yeah, don't try to touch it with your bare hands. Put your bread on a wire rack and let it cool down. For the Zhug, you're gonna need 10 grams of cilantro, 10 grams of parsley, leaves only, 1 jalapeno seeded. Try to get out as much of the pith as you can because it does tend to leave a slightly bitter taste. 1 Anaheim chili or poblano, make sure you take out the seeds on this one as well, along with the pith. 2 cloves of garlic, you're going to want to smash them to bring out the oils. Half a teaspoon of ground cardamom, and 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Now you can use a blender, food processor, or mortar and pestle, whichever you have in your house. Add in all your ingredients except for your extra virgin olive oil. We're going to add that at the end. Don't forget to season it with some salt and black pepper. Once it's almost all done blending together, drizzle in your olive oil to create an emulsified sauce. And there you go, it's all ready to go. For our final component, we're going to make our Mediterranean chopped salad. Start off by quartering your tomatoes. And we are going to cut out the center. Slice your tomatoes and we're going to start chopping them into little squares. Try to be as even as possible. Grab your cucumber and cut it lengthwise. Slice it lengthwise one more time. This makes it easy for us to slice out the seeds. Then just like our tomatoes, we're gonna slice them into sticks, and then we're gonna cut them into little squares. Take your time when you're cutting your vegetables. Don't feel like you have to rush this part. Everybody has their own way of chopping onions. This is the way I like to chop mine. I cut off both ends of the onions and slice it in half. Once the onion is half, it's basically just a bunch of arches. I slice through and I go back around, cutting at an angle, following the angle of the onion. Get your lemon, cut off both ends, and quarter it. By slicing out the core, it'll let you get as much juice as you possibly can from the lemon, and also makes it very easy to pull out any seeds. Give your beautiful salad a little mix, and we're gonna season it generously with a lot of salt and pepper. The salt will start to bring out the juices from your vegetables. Squeeze in plenty of lemon juice. I personally like my food very acidic, so I use the whole lemon. After we let our salad marinate for a little bit, we're gonna add our parsley leaves. Okay, finally, we're gonna slice some challah bread, and we're gonna get ready to plate. So on our plate, we're gonna put our challah bread, a fried egg. Let's make it 2 fried eggs. Our olives. A nice scoop of our labneh. A little ramekin for our Zhug. And our beautiful bright Mediterranean chopped salad. Just kind of sprinkle it everywhere. Then we're gonna top our challah bread off with our smoked salmon. A lot of smoked salmon.